Hello everyone, this is Boichi. Again, Boichi's manga column time. Since my previous videos, I've discussed the best way to help the manga industry flourish in various countries. I've mentioned that it would be great if there were a manga center in your country as well. Especially for countries that aren't yet developed, it would be a real game changer. Everyone wishes that a manga center would definitely exist where you live. Even aspiring manga artists living in developed countries would need a manga center. I believe that a manga center is an essential game changer for the development of the manga industry in every country. If there is a manga center, it would truly be beneficial. I can summarize it in one word. The manga center should be like mother. It should be a place like a mother who devotes everything to her child with care. A manga center in that country must be a place that does everything necessary to help manga artists and aspiring artists grow and live, to develop and sustain the industry, and to allow the related culture to thrive. And hold on a second. One very important thing. A manga center should never be run purely as a business. Hey, wait a second. But couldn't it also work as a profitable venture? It might be necessary. A state-owned manga platform. Thinking about it, that could be useful. The center could research the manga industry, analyze domestic and global manga trends, and, based on market research, draft business proposals for companies or governments. These are extremely important tasks, very important. And my homeland, South Korea, is the best in the world at doing this. They produce amazing reports, and it provides support programs, including those that provide funding for private entities, are definitely necessary. But let me explain, focusing on aspiring and rookie manga artists. Today's topic is this. What should a manga center offer to support aspiring manga artists? First, it would be great if they could provide accommodations. Of course, I don't think it's absolutely necessary to provide housing. It's fine if they can commute from their home. But it would be really great if the manga center could provide them with housing. As a manga artist, I've seen how aspiring manga artists and new creators in both Japan and Korea work so hard that they don't even want to waste time going home. Most aspiring manga artists dedicate all their time to drawing. They even feel that the time spent eating instant noodles is a waste. That's why I think it would be helpful to provide them with housing. It would be great if this housing were either affordable or free. However, there must be a thorough and fair screening process for applicants. Yes, it's crucial to do this properly through a review process and interview. If the housing program is provided to just anyone, what began with good intentions could ultimately become a waste of tax money. The manga center must gather passionate and talented individuals. The residential facility doesn't need to be luxurious, but it should be a decent and livable space. There's no need to make it like a fancy hotel or a cozy home. In fact, it would be better to accommodate more people than to create a luxurious space. And more importantly, it is crucial that the manga center operating these accommodations is well managed. I think this one should definitely be the #1 rule. Drinking alcohol should not be allowed in the center. I'm serious. It can get out of hand. I'm giving you this advice for a reason. We need to prevent gatherings where people drink. We really need to prohibit alcohol. The manga center should be a place where people work hard and study. Not just a free space where anyone can apply, come in, and lounge around for a year or two while enjoying the facilities and services provided by the center, or throw parties and play video games. Of course, it's not necessary for all residents of the manga center to wake up at 4 a.m. for exercises and sing the national anthem. The manga center doesn't need to operate like a military base or a monastery. However, I do believe some level of management and rules are required. While more thought is needed regarding what kind of management and rules are necessary for residents, I believe that the consumption of alcohol within the manga center must be strictly prohibited. Next, I believe it would be great if affordable or free meals were provided. It would be nice to have a place where meals are offered. The group of aspiring manga artists I always worry about consists of those who are financially struggling. I am always concerned about them, and it pains my heart. These individuals are all talented, aspiring manga artists, but they are facing financial difficulties. Anyone should be able to become a manga artist, and that's one of the wonderful advantages of this profession. If the center could provide affordable meals, or even better, free meals, it would truly be a great help to them. If they can prove they are excellent aspiring manga artists or promising new authors and come to study or work, it would be a great support to provide them with a simple yet warm and delicious meal after finishing their tough works. Additionally, it would be nice to offer midnight snacks, coffee, and energy drinks. Why? Because based on my experiences with manga artists and aspiring manga artists in Korea and Japan, they often stay up late due to their hard work. Midnight snacks can really help during those long nights. The difference between having snacks and not having them is huge. You know, we are somewhat like raising Sims. To grow well, we need to eat well. We need to eat well to level up effectively. To hard study or draw manga through the night, we need to have snacks. However, I don't think it's necessary for snacks to be provided for free. It would be nice to sell them at a special discount to residents of the manga center, perhaps in a convenience store located at the entrance of the center. But I hope there will be a system in place to provide snacks in some way. It would be wonderful if they could offer free pepperoni pizza once a week. And when creating manga, there are times when meetings are necessary, or when manga artists and aspiring artists need to network with each other. It would be great to have a space for that as well. I strongly oppose drinking alcohol inside the manga center, but it is okay gathering outside the center to drink. Outside the center, it's important to meet friends and family, enjoy some drinks, and have good food. However, it would be nice to have a meeting room in the manga center for discussions and exchanges the ideas. And there is something called a manga library. I think it's better not to have one. The officials who plan and construct the center are likely to think from the beginning, wouldn't it be nice to have a manga library? However, in my opinion, a manga library is a waste of tax money that does not significantly benefit the manga industry and aspiring manga artists. Tax money is precious. Every penny must be spent wisely. Therefore, I don't believe tax money should be used to construct a manga library center. If lawmakers and the governor visit the center and see a magnificent library, they might exclaim, "Wow, what an impressive library, and look at how many comic books they have." However, I believe a library is not very useful. It could even be a hindrance. Instead of creating a manga library, it would be much better to use that space and budget to expand study rooms in the manga center, allowing more people to live there or have opportunities to study. The more spaces available for studying or drawing manga, the better for creating a strong manga industry. A size comparable to Dodger Stadium, with about 10,000 seats, would be ideal, I hope. So, the space and budget for a library could be used to build something as large as Dodger Stadium. Or at least, a larger center would be preferable. Manga exhibitions. We often hold exhibitions to showcase the works of great manga artists, excellent new creators, or the works of aspiring manga artists. While I sincerely appreciate the noble intent behind these exhibitions, I must say they often do not achieve the desired outcomes. In my 31 years as a manga artist, I have yet to see anyone debut as a manga artist through a manga exhibition held in Korea or Japan. I haven't witnessed a single manga artist or aspiring creator whose life changed because of these exhibitions. No need special exhibitions event. If there are those planning or hosting exhibitions, I apologize, but I don't think we need the exhibitions. I have more experience in the manga industry than most, having spent 31 years in 2 countries observing and learning. Exhibitions? No need. It would be far better to use the space and budget allocated for exhibitions to expand manga study rooms. The goal should be to create a space as large as Dodger Stadium. If that's not feasible, then we should aim for something close in size. Increasing study rooms and dormitories is far more beneficial. Additionally, the center should have a manga market where we can sell comics and merchandise, such as figures, t-shirts, and even the character masks for YouTube creators. Selling manga drawing tools is great. You may wonder, how can a government-run facility operate a commercial space? I am in favor of this because saving tax money is crucial. Taxes are incredibly precious. By running such a market, we can generate revenue, which helps reduce the center's operating costs, ultimately saving taxpayer money. Moreover, this market could also serve as an excellent exhibition space. A manga artist would find it far more rewarding to see their works displayed in a bustling manga store filled with fans and otaku, rather than simply hanging their drawings on the walls of a fancy exhibition hall. While I can't speak for other artists, I know this would bring me more joy. There's nothing quite like the happiness and excitement of seeing your work being sold and loved by others. Plus, fans can purchase it and proudly display it at home. It's so happy. This system can also benefit new manga artists and aspiring creators. And aspiring manga artists could also work part-time at the center to earn some money. Next, the manga center should provide a working environment for aspiring manga artists and creators. By working environment, it doesn't just mean a space work. I hope they can also provide good tablets and computers for digital work. Many aspiring manga artists are not financially well off. If the center could offer digital tools and programs for drawing manga for free or at a very low cost, it would be a great use of tax money. Such a digital space would significantly enhance the center's functionality. One of the great advantages of manga is that whether someone is poor or rich, a newcomer, or a famous artist, anyone can create using the same tools: paper, pencil, and pen. However, with the advent of the digital age, this equality has diminished. I don't want to see this inequality. Unfortunately, digital tools are expensive. 1,000 times pricier than ink, nibs, and paper. It's impossible to make digital tools cheaper. What if the center could solve this issue? I sincerely request that this aspect be addressed. If a center is planned to build the support program, please ensure that even the poor aspiring manga artist can use the best digital tools provided by the center to create their manga. Next, I came up with a unique idea. It is about the scanning and scanner. The scanning and scanner mentioned here are not just about simply using a good scanner to scan images. The scanned images also need to go through a correction process. After that, additional steps are required to format the manga manuscript properly. Before transitioning to a digital work environment during the COVID era, I used to create manga the traditional way with pen and brush. Back then, I would scan the completed manuscripts using a scanner. Finding a decent scanner for this work became increasingly difficult. The scanner has gradually fallen out of mainstream use, which is why it's no longer used. It was no small task to find a scanner with the performance required for manga production. That's why I ended up buying 2 of the same model, anticipating they would eventually go out of production. So it would be great if the manga center could provide artists with high-quality scanners. Scanners are actually quite expensive tools. I used to scan pen-touched or brush-painted drawing manuscripts and go through a 32-step process in Photoshop to correct them into digital manuscripts. Wouldn't it be beneficial to offer support for such a process? Nowadays, it's hard to find good scanners, and when you do, they're incredibly expensive. Moreover, converting files, correcting them, and processing the scans are labor-intensive and time-consuming tasks. If the center could support these efforts, the positive impact would be huge. If you think that just because manga is distributed on digital platforms, it has to be created digitally, that's a huge misconception. You can draw manga and comics on paper with pencil or even using ink applied with your fingernail. You could even draw on the back of a calendar with a pencil, and if the scanner and correction process are excellent, it can become a high-quality manga manuscript. A revolution could happen. Providing a good scanning service would give even poor aspiring manga artists who can't afford to work digitally a fair chance to become professional artists, presenting their work on global platforms. Artists can complete their manuscripts the traditional way, drawing on paper and applying screen tones, and then bring them to the center for scanning, where the work would be turned into digital data. I think offering such a service to aspiring manga artists would be fantastic. It preserves the traditional work philosophy that makes manga great. The revolutionary idea that anyone can create manga becomes a reality. There's no longer a need to spend the big money on digital tools to draw manga. As for educational programs, at first glance, they might seem like a great addition to the manga center. But after thinking about it more carefully, I feel that while it would be nice to have them, they're not absolutely necessary. Couldn't these kinds of educational programs be run by universities or schools run by companies instead? Instead of directly managing education programs, the center could assist companies in establishing schools by offering its facilities at an affordable rate. If companies can use the center's buildings or land at a lower cost, they can reduce the tuition fees for the schools they operate. It's important that the center be large enough to accommodate multiple schools if needed, ensuring ample space for educational purposes. Moreover, if the government-run Manga Center occasionally hosts seminars, it would be fantastic. Seminars provide invaluable opportunities for learning and networking. However, if these seminars are funded by taxpayers, the dynamics change. Seminars offer a great platform to present their results and generate media coverage. Attendees and residents of the center can also easily access and participate in them, if the timing is right. These well-timed seminars can provide concentrated, high-quality education that surpasses typical manga training programs. While the center may not need to run its own educational programs, hosting occasional seminars would add immense value to its functions. And next, when a center is managed by the government, it has the capacity to invite not just one, but multiple guests. That's fantastic, isn't it? In 2007, I heard that a Chinese manhwa seminar was being held in South Korea, so I went to see it. The reason I traveled all the way to Korea was because I was incredibly curious and excited about the future of Chinese manhwa. When I considered the global manga, I realized I wanted to learn more about Chinese manhwa and its market. It just so happened that a seminar on the topic was being held in Korea at that time. Of course, I didn't speak Chinese, but everything was translated into Korean, and the pamphlets were in Korean too. Just by attending, I gained a lot of valuable insights and knowledge. Hopefully, one day I can share more about that experience. Additionally, it would be great if the center could offer information and programs for aspiring manga artists looking to expand overseas. Here's something important. Take a manga center in any country, for example. Some of the artists there might want to work on a global manga platform, but others might be more interested in entering the North American market, or in working within the Japanese manga industry. Or perhaps they want to work in Europe, South Korea, or China. In such cases, the center could offer consultations on international opportunities, share expertise, and provide assistance. It would be especially helpful if they could provide translation and interpretation services. That being said, when a global manga platform is created, translation might be automatically handled by the platform itself. Artificial intelligence translation could certainly help with manga translations. However, does that mean we don't need a support program for going overseas through manga centers? Not at all. Just translating a work isn't enough. You also need to understand the culture of the country where you're working, keep track of market trends, and so on, right? You should know what platforms exist and what the reader's preferences are. You need to meet editors and attend meetings. Just translating the work isn't sufficient. If a global manga platform could handle all these aspects, that might be different. But in their absence, the support of a local manga center is absolutely essential. This way, knowledge about entering international manga markets accumulates. For example, those artists who have ventured into the Japanese manga industry, about 99% of them return to their home country after gaining experience. They come back and share what they've learned and experienced utilizing that knowledge. I refer to this as the arc theory. In 2007, I named this phenomenon where returning overseas artists significantly contribute to the growth of their home country's manga industry. Now, there's another concept that's somewhat similar yet entirely different. Support programs for foreigners' manga artists in countries that are already manga and comic powerhouses, with strong and vast manga markets and excellent manga industries. It would be great for manga centers there to have support programs that allow foreigners to come and work. Naturally, foreigners need to learn the language to operate in that country. However, this process takes a lot of time. During the time spent studying a foreign language, they aren't able to focus on studying manga. This can decrease their skills and competitiveness. Think about it simply. Does the Japanese manga industry need foreigners who are very proficient in Japanese? Or does it need foreigners who can draw manga well? It's obviously the latter. If that person can also speak Japanese well, that's an advantage. but it's just that an advantage, not a requirement. However, the time spent studying Japanese means that they can't fully utilize their innate abilities. If this phenomenon isn't clear to you, consider this: if Japanese manga artists had to study English to the point where they could create manga in English, would they be able to create good manga in the US like they do in Japan? Of course, they could become excellent manga artists even with their language studies. But if they had focused on drawing manga during that time, they would have become even better artists. They could have created more engaging and entertaining manga. I had to make my own judgments and choices in this dilemma. I had to endure it personally on my own. That meant I had to find ways to overcome it. But what if the center provided support? I think this is necessary in a comic powerhouse, especially in countries with low birth rates. The next one. This is the last one. This is not an ordinary manga center. It's not just a center that supports that country. Rather, it's a center that supports aspiring manga and comic artists from around the world to work in various countries. I hope such a center existed. At this manga center, aspiring manga artists from around the world can learn to create manga in their own languages. You can think of it as a school. The Global Manga Center can be understood in the form of a school. I told you that we don't necessarily need to run an educational programs because it's a manga comic center for one country. And also, it is a global cultural center with multilingual support from the start. Additionally, by gathering in groups, they can enjoy their native dishes and access various information. I hope it can be a place where this is possible. Naturally, it will also operate support programs to help them work in their desired countries, locations, and platforms for global expansion. You might ask, why is this necessary? The reason is that the world of comic artists is generally unstable. Most comic artists do not achieve financial stability for long periods or even their entire lives, and often face economic crises repeatedly. In other words, becoming a manga artist doesn't mean just do well on your own. It would be great if there were places where they could focus on comics while living affordably. I believe it would be wonderful to have a place that can gather those resources and support. I've been thinking about these ideas continuously. A global comic center project was planned in Gwangju in South Korea. I thought it would be great if it were located there. So I gathered a few colleagues and started to sketch out ideas. Unfortunately, that plan didn't work out. It seems more realistic to establish it in the city of Gyoda, Saitama. Gyoda is a really nice place to build the manga center. I haven't concretely developed any plans yet, but I also hope it can be established in North America. Perhaps somewhere in Los Angeles or Texas. These are my thoughts on what comic centers should provide for aspiring comic artists and rookie manga artists. Okay, that's all for today's video. Thank you for watching.